What if I told you that the disappearance of Commander Gentle, one of the most feared and respected Biafran fighters, was not just about a military raid, but a shocking betrayal from within his own circle? His girlfriend, who now claims to be his secret messenger, has come forward with revelations that are shaking the entire Biafran struggle to its core. According to her, powerful figures inside the United States of Biafra government, alongside insiders in the Biafran Liberation Army, allegedly handed over Gentle's exact camp location to the Nigerian army. That information led to a deadly raid where dozens of fighters were killed, including a key commander. Yet somehow Gentle escaped, disappearing into the borderlands of Imo, Anambra, and Abia. But here's where it gets even more explosive. Gentle is alive, hiding and refusing to show his face, fearing further betrayal. His girlfriend says he speaks only through her. And his earlier viral video, where he accused Simon Ekpa and the Biafran government of abandoning him, is now being used by Finnish prosecutors to crush Simon Ekpa's case, dropping his chances of victory from 90% to just 60%. This isn't just one man's story. It's about betrayal, survival, and a movement on the brink of collapse. So the question is, who really betrayed Commander Gentle, and why? Stay with me. This story changes everything. Commander Gentle's girlfriend, alleged to also be a foot soldier, has come out with shocking revelations about Gentle's case and his whereabouts. She claimed individuals within the USB government and some members of the Biafran Liberation Army betrayed Gentle by giving the Nigerian army his exact camp location. The Nigerian army allegedly used this insider information to raid Gentle's camp, leading to many deaths, including a key commander, though Gentle himself reportedly escaped. According to her, Gentle was warned beforehand but refused to abandon his men, eventually fleeing during the attack into border areas between Imo, Anambra and Abia states. She insists Gentle is still alive but too distrustful to release a video, fearing exposure of his location. Instead, he communicates indirectly through her. Gentle had earlier released a viral video claiming he and his men never received financial support from Simon Ekpa or the USB government after Simon Ekpa's arrest, raising serious controversies. Prosecutors in Finland handling Simon Ekpa's case now have that video as evidence, weakening his chances of winning his appeal. His chances allegedly dropped from 90% to around 60%. Commander Gentle's girlfriend also hinted that a powerful person within the USB government may have a hidden hand in Gentle's betrayal. The Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, Dr. Ngozi Orubueze, has remained silent on the issue, while Finnish prosecutors wait for clearance from Nigeria to push Simon Ekpa's case further. Commander Gentle's controversy and revelations have made things worse for Simon Ekpa's legal defense, as prosecutors are trying to use the controversy against Simon Ekpa in the appeal case. The story of Commander Gentle and the shocking revelations made by his girlfriend cannot be understood in isolation. It sits on top of decades of pain, betrayal, injustice, and repeated cycles of violence that have defined the relationship between Nigeria and Biafra, a nation that has long struggled for recognition, dignity, and survival. When the news broke that Commander Gentle's girlfriend had finally spoken out about his mysterious disappearance, many who have been following the Biafran struggle felt both sadness and anger, because her revelations not only shed light on Gentle's situation, but also revealed once again how betrayal, infiltration, and systemic oppression continue to threaten the Biafran people and their freedom fighters. The problems at the heart of this story are not just about one commander and his girlfriend. They are about the larger tragedy of betrayal within liberation movements the deadly hand of the Nigerian government and its military, and the international silence that allows the suffering of Biafrans to continue. Commander Gentle, a respected figure among the fighters of the Biafran Liberation Army, became a symbol of both bravery and vulnerability. His disappearance created confusion, fear, and suspicions among his followers. His girlfriend's confession now points to something darker, that members of the very government claiming to represent Biafra, along with some fighters within the Liberation Army, may have given away his location to the Nigerian army. How did this problem occur? From her words, it appears that Gentle's camp was infiltrated at a time when trust was already fragile. He had been vocal about feeling abandoned, especially after Simon Ekpa was arrested in Finland and could no longer provide his usual form of leadership. Gentle released a video in which he complained that he and his men never received the financial or logistical support they expected from either Simon Ekpa or the United States of Biafra government. That video went viral and was quickly picked up by enemies of the Biafran cause, including the Nigerian government and even Finnish prosecutors handling Simon Ekpa's case. This video created controversy, but according to his girlfriend, it also marked the beginning of Gentle's downfall. Some in the Biafran Liberation Army began to doubt his loyalty, while certain politicians in the United States of Biafra may have considered him a threat. If indeed his exact location was handed over to the Nigerian army, it means that betrayal came from within, and such betrayal is always more painful than attacks from open enemies. The Nigerian military used the information to launch a deadly raid on his camp. Many fighters were killed, including a key commander, but Gentle narrowly escaped. His girlfriend claims he refused to abandon his men even when warned of the attack, and he only fled during the chaos, disappearing into the border areas of Imo, Anambra, and Abia states. What provoked this series of events? To answer that, one must go back to the long history of marginalization and persecution of the Igbo people in Nigeria. Since the Biafran War of 1967 to 1970, when over 3 million Biafrans, mostly children, died of starvation and bombings, the Nigerian government has continued policies that deliberately weaken the Igbo region. Roads, infrastructure, and industries in the southeast remain neglected. Political appointments are consistently skewed to exclude Igbos from top positions. Security forces have carried out countless massacres in Aba, Onitsha, Owerri, and other cities. Peaceful protesters have been shot at, with Amnesty International repeatedly documenting killings of unarmed young men waving Biafran flags. It is against this backdrop of oppression that people like Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu rose to prominence, calling for the right of Biafrans to self-determination. Commander Gentle's decision to remain in the struggle despite risks was rooted in this history. He, like many others, could not stand by while his people continued to suffer marginalization and killings. Yet, his story also shows the cracks within the Biafran movement itself. Betrayal and internal rivalries have always been the biggest threats to liberation movements. The Nigerian government has mastered the art of infiltration, using money, promises, and threats to divide leaders and weaken the struggle from within. Gentle's girlfriend has now confirmed what many suspected, that betrayal, not just external attack, was the reason behind his disappearance. The consequences of her revelations are many. First, they cast doubt on the unity and trust within the Biafran Liberation Army and the United States of Biafra government. If indeed some leaders gave away Gentle's location, then questions must be asked about their true loyalty. Are they fighting for the liberation of their people, Or are they secretly working with Nigeria to silence strong voices like Gentle's? Secondly, the revelations have made Simon Ekpa's legal battles in Finland even more complicated. Prosecutors are already using Gentle's viral video as evidence against him, suggesting that even those on the ground do not receive support from him. According to reports, this has weakened Simon's chances of winning his appeal, dropping them from a strong 90% to about 60%. This is a dangerous twist, because Simon Ekpa remains one of the strongest international voices for Biafra, and any weakening of his position benefits only the Nigerian government. The silence of the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, has also raised eyebrows. Why has she remained quiet in the face of such damning revelations? Is she protecting someone within the government, or is she afraid that speaking out will cause even deeper divisions? For the ordinary Biafran people, silence from leaders only deepens suspicion and mistrust. It is in times like these that true leadership is tested, not by silence, but by transparency and courage. The consequences for the Biafran people are also psychological. Every betrayal, every disappearance, every rumor of death creates fear and hopelessness. Many begin to wonder if the struggle is worth the sacrifices. Families of fighters live in constant anxiety, not knowing if their loved ones will return home. Mothers bury sons, wives become widows, children grow up without fathers. Yet despite this pain, the Biafran spirit has remained unbroken. That spirit is what makes even the revelation of betrayal a spark for renewed determination rather than surrender. Are there possible solutions to this crisis? Yes, but they require both internal honesty and external support. Internally, the Biafran Liberation Army and the United States of Biafra government must confront betrayal head-on. There must be investigations into how Gentle's location was leaked and who was responsible. Those found guilty must be exposed, not protected. Only then can trust be rebuilt. Externally, Biafrans must continue to appeal to international communities, human rights organizations, and foreign governments to recognize their right to self-determination. The silence of the world during the 1967 war must not be repeated. If Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu are silenced, the Nigerian government will feel emboldened to crush the struggle with even more brutality. How far are we from these solutions? Realistically, the road is still long. The Nigerian state has powerful backers, including international oil interests that prefer a divided and weakened southeast. But history has shown that no people can be permanently oppressed. South Sudan eventually gained independence after decades of bloodshed. Eritrea broke free from Ethiopia. The apartheid regime in South Africa collapsed despite the backing of powerful allies. Oppression never lasts forever when the oppressed refuse to surrender. For the Biafran people, the message of this moment is clear. Betrayal is painful, but it should not break the spirit of the struggle. Commander Gentle's girlfriend has given a voice to what many feared, but she has also reminded everyone that Gentle is still alive. Though he remains in hiding, his survival is a symbol of resilience. He may not release a video because of trust issues, but his very existence keeps hope alive. This story must also be a lesson in unity. The Biafran struggle is not about individuals, but about the survival of a people. Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu represent the face of international advocacy, while commanders like Gentle represent the courage on the ground. Both are needed, and both must be protected. The enemy wants division, but unity is the weapon that can break the chains of oppression. for the ordinary Biafran people facing rejection, torture and violence, this story must serve as inspiration rather than despair. You have survived massacres in Aba, in Onitsha, in Owerri. You have survived the starvation of the civil war, the economic exclusion, and the endless harassment at checkpoints. Yet you are still standing. Your resilience is your greatest weapon. Nigeria has tried everything to erase your identity, but it has failed. You speak your language, you honor your culture, you remember your dead, and you continue to fight for your children's future. To the young Biafran, know that your dignity cannot be crushed. To the mother who lost a son, know that his sacrifice is not in vain. To the father who struggles to provide for his family in a land deliberately underdeveloped, know that your courage is a seed for freedom. To the exiled Biafran living abroad, never forget your roots, for your voice in foreign lands is as powerful as the gun of a fighter in the forest. Oppression thrives on fear, but the antidote to fear is hope. As long as Biafrans keep hope alive, freedom is only a matter of time. Commander Gentle's story is not the end, but our reminder that the struggle is costly and sacred. His girlfriend's confession has opened wounds, but it has also opened eyes. The betrayal she revealed must not divide Biafrans further, but must unite them in vigilance, for only the strong and united can defeat oppression. The Nigerian government may celebrate the weakening of Simon Ekpa's legal defense or the disappearance of Commander Gentle, but history is not on their side. Empires collapse, dictatorships fall, and oppressed people eventually rise. For Biafra, the road is painful, but it is moving steadily toward freedom. And so, to every Biafran who reads this, remember that your struggle is just. Your pain is not meaningless. Your dignity is your birthright, and no government, no army, no betrayal can erase it. The blood of your ancestors cries out for justice, and justice will come. Stand firm, hold fast, and never surrender, for the day will come when the world will recognize Biafra not as a dream, but as a nation reborn. The revelations of Commander Gentle's girlfriend may appear as just one chapter in a long and painful book, but when examined closely, it exposes a cycle that has haunted the Biafran movement since its earliest days. A people forced into war in 1967 because of deep-seated hatred, discrimination, and targeted killings of the Igbo population in northern Nigeria are today still facing the same patterns of betrayal and annihilation, only in more subtle and carefully disguised forms. When Nigeria was created as a colonial construct, it was never a nation built on shared love, equality, or unity. It was a merger of unwilling peoples by the British, designed for control and exploitation. The Igbo people, industrious and bold, quickly rose in influence in business, education, and governance. This rise was not welcomed by those who feared Igbo advancement. Instead, it sparked jealousy, hostility, and eventually violence. The pogroms of 1966, when thousands of Igbo civilians were slaughtered in northern cities, marked the beginning of a nightmare that forced Biafra to declare independence. That independence was crushed in a genocidal war between 1967 and 1970, where hunger was used as a weapon. The world looked away as over 3 million Biafrans starved, their skeletal children's images haunting global memory. This genocide was not an accident. It was a deliberate strategy by the Nigerian government, backed by powerful allies like Britain and the Soviet Union, who supplied weapons and blocked humanitarian aid. From that moment, it became clear that the Nigerian state would stop at nothing to keep Biafra suppressed. Fast forward to today, and one sees the same strategies repeated, though in different forms. Instead of mass bombings, we see military raids on villages in Imo, Anambra, Ebonyi, and Enugu. Instead of openly declaring starvation as policy, the Nigerian state neglects the southeast, refusing to build industries, roads, or jobs, pushing young men into desperation. Instead of respecting human rights, the state labels every Igbo youth carrying a Biafran flag as a terrorist, subjecting them to arrest, torture, and extrajudicial killings. It is in this suffocating environment that men like Simon Ekpa and Nnamdi Kanu emerged, using their voices to awaken the consciousness of their people. They reminded Biafrans that freedom is not given but demanded. They exposed the world to the ongoing atrocities of the Nigerian military, including the killings in Aba in 2016, where peaceful IPOB protesters were massacred, and in Obigbo in 2020, where young men were dragged from their homes and executed. These incidents mirror the very same injustices that forced Biafra into war decades ago, proving that the Nigerian state has never changed its approach toward the Igbo. Commander Gentle's story sits within this larger history. He was one of the young men who decided that enough was enough, that silence and surrender were no longer options. He and his men took up arms, not out of love for violence, but out of desperation for dignity. His disappearance is painful because it reflects both the brutality of Nigeria and the internal cracks within the movement. His girlfriend's confession that insiders betrayed him shows that the enemy has succeeded in sowing division. Yet even in betrayal, there is a lesson: the need for unity, discipline, and absolute vigilance. Her claim that Gentle is still alive but hiding in the borderlands of Imo, Anambra, and Abia gives hope to many. It is a reminder that though the oppressor may strike, the oppressed will always rise again. Gentle's refusal to abandon his men even when warned of the attack shows the mark of a true leader. That kind of sacrifice cannot be erased by propaganda or betrayal. His survival is symbolic. It tells Biafrans everywhere that their struggle is alive, their leaders are not broken, and their hope is not lost. Yet, the same story is being twisted against Simon Ekpa in Finland. Finnish prosecutors have seized upon Gentle's viral video, where he complained of lack of support, and are now using it to argue that Simon Ekpa is not genuinely leading or supporting his fighters. They present it as evidence of disunity, hoping to weaken his appeal. They claim that his credibility is damaged, reducing his chances of winning from 90% to 60%. This is not just a legal tactic. It is part of a wider strategy to silence the most powerful international advocate for Biafra. But one must ask, why is Simon Ekpa being treated as a criminal for defending his people? Why are the words of a fighter, spoken under stress and betrayal, being used to criminalize the man who has dedicated his life to raising global awareness of Biafra's suffering? The truth is clear. The Nigerian government wants Simon silenced, and they are using international courts and fabricated narratives to achieve it. His imprisonment is not about justice, it is about suppressing the truth of Biafra. The silence of Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, is troubling. At a time when her voice could bring clarity and unity, she has chosen silence. This silence may be due to fear, or it may hide deeper political games. But history will not forgive silence in the face of betrayal. Leadership is not about positions, but about courage. And in moments like this, the people look not for titles, but for voices that speak truth without compromise. For the Biafran people, the way forward is both difficult and clear. Difficult because betrayal cuts deep, And unity is hard to sustain when infiltrators are everywhere. Clear, because no matter the betrayal, the goal remains the same: freedom. The Nigerian government wants division, because a divided Biafra is a defeated Biafra. But the lesson from this story is that betrayal must become fuel for vigilance, not surrender. Looking at global history, one sees many parallels. Eritrea fought for 30 years against Ethiopia, suffering betrayals and setbacks, but they never gave up. South Sudan endured decades of war before gaining independence. Even South Africa under apartheid faced internal betrayals, yet the people stood firm until the world recognized their struggle. Biafra is not alone. Oppression may seem permanent, but it always collapses under the weight of resilience. So, where do we stand today? Biafrans stand at a crossroads. On one hand, betrayal has caused deep wounds. Commander Gentle missing, Simon Ekpa's case weakened, and silence from leaders. On the other hand, the resilience of the people remains unbroken. The Nigerian state has not crushed Biafra despite all its power. Instead, Biafra lives on in the hearts of its people, in the flags waved on the streets, in the songs sung at rallies, and in the prayers whispered at night. The time has come for Biafrans to draw strength from these stories, not despair. Commander Gentle's survival is a message of hope. Simon Ekpa's fight in Finland is a reminder that Biafra is now a global conversation, not a silenced dream. Nnamdi Kanu's endurance in prison proves that even chains cannot stop the truth. Together, their sacrifices form a chain of resistance that Nigeria cannot break. And to the people, hear this: you are not forgotten. The world may pretend not to see, but history is watching. Your ancestors endured hunger and bombings, yet they passed on the torch of survival. That torch now burns in your hands. Protect it, keep it alive, and pass it on, for one day it will light the path to freedom. Oppression thrives on fear, but freedom thrives on courage. Be courageous. Do not allow betrayal to silence you. Do not allow propaganda to divide you. Stand firm, speak boldly, and remember always that dignity cannot be negotiated. It is your right. As we close this narration, let the story of Commander Gentle and his girlfriend's revelations not be the end, but the beginning of renewed unity. Let Simon Ekpa's trial not be a cause for despair, but a reminder that Biafra has reached the international stage. Let Nnamdi Kanu's captivity not be a symbol of defeat, but a testament to the resilience of a man who gave everything for his people. And so the message to every Biafran is this: your struggle is sacred, your pain is remembered, your hope is alive. The night may seem long, but dawn is inevitable. One day, the world will witness a new flag rise, the flag of Biafra, not as a dream, but as a nation reborn. Until that day, hold fast, stand strong, and never surrender, for your freedom is closer than you think. This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.